and she was no longer my wife, and I got the hell out of there. And she still looked exactly the same. These days, I have faith in God, but too often that faith seems, well, blocked. But then everything is blocked by the medication I'm on. These days, too, I ask this question: am I blocking my relationship with a higher power by taking Suboxone? One of my big problems, and the reason I've had so much trouble getting sober over the years, is I never let myself feel uncomfortable long enough to have a spiritual connection. So I fix it with pills and alcohol before God can jump in and fix me. I did a breathwork class recently. For a half an hour you breathe in this very intense, very uncomfortable way. You cry, you see things, you kind of feel high. For me, it's a freebie high, the best kind. But the Suboxone even blocks that feeling. Half the doctors I speak to say I should be on Suboxone for at least a year, but probably the rest of my life. Other doctors tell me I'm not technically sober while I'm still on it. It's very difficult to get all the way off it either way, which is ironic because it's a drug used to get you off other drugs. Recently, when I was hooked up to an IV of it, the dosage I was receiving was 0.5 lower than it was supposed to be, and it got me so sick and scared I had to bump it back up. You feel terrible when you stop taking it. When you take heroin, the drugs hit your opiate receptors, and then you are high, and then it fades, and you're not hitting the opiate receptors anymore. Then you're sober for a while. Then maybe the next day you hit your opiate receptors again, and then you're high, and on and on. But Suboxone works differently, wrapping itself around the receptor, and it doesn't go away, which means it's basically damaging your receptors 24/7. So one of the theories that I have about my struggle with happiness is that I've damaged these receptors. My dopamine gets replaced by the Suboxone. The dopamine hit is what you get when you enjoy something, like looking at a sunset or playing tennis, and you make a good shot or you hear a song you love. But I'm pretty sure my opiate receptors are very seriously damaged, possibly to the point of no return. That's why I'm always a little bummed. Just like pancreatitis, maybe if I had left my opioid receptors alone for an extended period, they'd fix themselves and I'd be happy again. I've seen God in my kitchen, of all places, so I know. No, I can't make a plant for a start. I know it's an omnipresent love and acceptance that means that everything's gonna be okay. I know that something happens when you die. I know you move on to something wonderful. Alcoholics and addicts like myself want to drink for the sole purpose of feeling better. Well, that's at least true for me. All I ever wanted was to feel better. I didn't feel good. I had to have a couple of drinks and I felt better. But as the disease progresses, it takes more and more and more and more and more and more and more to feel better. If you puncture the membrane of sobriety, alcoholism kicks in and goes, "Hey, remember me? Nice to see you again. Now, give me just as much as you did last time, or I'll kill you or make you crazy." And then the obsession of my mind kicks in. I can't stop thinking about feeling better, matched with the phenomenon of craving, and what you're left with is a bruise that starts off one way and never gets better. Nobody has a drinking problem and then stops and then drinks socially and it's fine. The disease just picks up. The big book says that alcohol is cunning, baffling, and powerful. But I would also add that it's patient. As soon as you raise your hand and say, "I'm having a problem," it's as though addiction says, "Well, if you're going to be stupid and say something about it, I'll go away for a while. I'll be in rehab for 3 months and think, Well, I'm going to use when I get out of here, but I can wait for 9 more days to do it. The disease is just drumming its fingers. In AA, it's often said that when you're in a meeting, your disease is doing one-arm push-ups outside, just waiting for you to leave. I've almost died several times, and the lower you get down the scale, death is as low as it goes, FYI, the more people you can help. So when my life is firing on all cylinders, I have folks I sponsor, people calling me to help them with their lives. The 2 years from 2001 to 2003 were 2 of the happiest of my life. I was helping people, sober, strong. There were other good side effects of sobriety. I was also single for some of them. So I'd go to clubs, but I didn't want to drink. The miracle had happened for me. And let me tell you, no one is more popular at 2 a.m. in a club than a sober guy who says, "Hi, how are you?" to a woman. I don't think I've ever gotten laid more than those 2 years. But the disease is patient. You slowly stop going to all the meetings you're supposed to go to. I don't really need to go to the one on Friday night. And then, by the time you're deep into that kind of thinking, alcoholism is coming for you. Baffling and powerful and patient. Suddenly, you're not going to any meetings anymore. And you've convinced yourself that you understand it all. Now, I don't need to do this anymore. I get it. Addicts are not bad people. We're just people who are trying to feel better, but we have this disease. When I feel bad, I think, give me something that makes me feel better. It's as simple as that. I would still love to drink and take drugs, but because of the consequences, I don't. Because I'm so late stage that it would kill me. Recently, my mother told me that she was proud of me. I'd written a movie and she'd read it. I'd wanted her to say that my whole life. When I pointed this out, she said, "What about a little forgiveness?" "I do forgive you," I said. "I do." I wonder if she can forgive me for everything I've put her through. If a selfish, lazy fuck like myself can change, then anyone can. No secret gets worse just because it has been told. At this point in my life, the words of gratitude pour out of me because I should be dead. And yet somehow I'm not. There must be a reason for that. It's simply too hard for me to understand if there isn't. I don't believe in half-assing things anymore. The path of least resistance is boring, and scars